Welcome to the Student Confidentiality lesson on the Montana Early Warning System. In this lesson, we will show how the Montana Early Warning System is designed to protect student confidentiality while still being able to provide EWS results to you. This lesson also includes detailed instructions on how school officials can gain access to the Montana Early Warning System. If you have any questions or concerns about the Montana Early Warning System, please contact Eric Meredith. In 1974, Congress passed and enacted the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, otherwise commonly known as FERPA. This law has been amended many times since its inception, but the central purpose of this law, to protect the privacy of student education records, is still in effect. There is a lot to this law, and we won't be covering it all here. We will only cover the portions of FERPA that are relevant to the early warning system. The OPI has developed a policy called the Student Records Confidentiality Policy that meets the requirements set forth in FERPA. Essentially, the policy states that OPI must not report any personally identifiable information on any students to the public. Personally identifiable information is any information that would allow a viewer to see the data and be able to identify individual students. Example of this kind of data is names, ID numbers, addresses, and more. There are a few exceptions to this rule, such as some reporting requirements that must be met in reporting to the federal government. Also, schools may not report any personally identifiable information on any of their students without their written consent from the parents or student if they are 18 years of age. Another important exemption in the law states that this information is reportable to school officials with a legitimate education interest. This means that OPI can report back personally identifiable information to the schools on their students. This is important to our EWS work because the EWS is student-level data that includes personally identifiable information, but schools should only be able to see this data on students that are attending their schools. The Montana Early Warning System has safeguards in place to ensure that all requirements of FERPA are met. The biggest attribute that allows the early warning system to meet all the requirements of FERPA is the fact that it is only available in the secure version of GEMS. If you are not familiar with OPI's GEMS website, there are two versions, the public version and the secure version. The public version has data that's available to anybody, and it is masked for values below counts of 10 to still conform to FERPA regulations. The secure version is essentially the same website, except there is no masking. Since the early warning system is student-level data, it is only available on the secure version of GEMS. There is an EWS overview page on the public site, but there are no EWS results posted there. Secure GEMS requires a login and password from OPI. When you receive a login and password for the secure version of the site, you are only granted access to the schools or districts that you are responsible for. This ensures you can only see the EWS for students that you are responsible for. When submitting for a login and password, you must also designate that EWS is one of the areas you want access to. There are several areas in the GEMS website, and you may not want or need access to. The one final piece that allows the EWS to meet all FERPA regulations is the fact that one of the EWS reports, the school-level report, does not have any personally identifiable information contained in it. It is designed as a school-wide report to gauge where the school or district stands in several areas and could potentially be used with the public or non-school officials. There will be more on the reports and how they can be used in a later lesson. There are a few cautions about the EWS report regarding student confidentiality. The information on some of the reports is sensitive in nature. It could be taken the wrong way by someone that does not understand what the report is showing. Most of the reports also contain personally identifiable information. This includes grades, attendance, behavior, and demographic data on each individual student along with the findings of the early warning system. Each report is easily printed on one page in GEMS for ease of use. However, be careful with any printouts from the early warning system and make sure not to leave them laying around. Also, do not share your GEMS login passwords. There are many reasons for this, but the biggest one is to ensure somebody that should not have access to the student records doesn't obtain your login credentials. Each school official that is using the early warning system should have their own login and password. The next step towards using the Montana Early Warning System is to gain the proper access. As mentioned, you will need to acquire a login and password to get into the site. To do so, the first thing you need to do is go to the EWS overview page in GEMS. This page is the one EWS page that is available to the public version of GEMS. Please click on the link to go to the site. You may want to save this URL for your favorites for future use. The EWS overview page contains several documents of interest. Once you are on the page, scroll towards the bottom and there is a list of the 3 documents. The first one is an early warning system data file template. We will discuss this document in more detail in a later lesson. The second one is the early warning system manual. It is a paper manual of those lessons. It is encouraged that you print out this manual and use it for a reference. The third file is the GEMS Access Request Form. This is the form needed to gain access to the secure version of GEMS, and more specifically, the EWS reports. Please click on this link. It is shown in yellow on the slide. The GEMS Access Request Form is what must be sent to OPI in order to gain access to the secure version of GEMS. There are 2 pages to the form. Only the first one needs to be filled out for access to the EWS. Up to 2 people per form may be granted access. If 2 people are included on the form, they will get separate logins and passwords to access the site. For access to the EWS area of GEMS, ensure that the box next to the early warning system is checked. Otherwise, you won't be given access to the EWS. Also, make sure to get your authorized representative for your school or district to sign the form. The authorized representative is generally the superintendent, but that differs from school to school. The final step is to send it into OPI. This can be done through email, fax, or snail mail. Please allow for a few days before your login and password are granted. You'll be sent an email to confirm when this is done, and you'll be directed to set up your password. You can log into the secure version of GEMS from almost any page in GEMS. The slide provides 2 links into GEMS, the GEMS homepage and the EWS overview page. Even if you do not have a login and password, saving one or both of these pages to your favorites is recommended. Once you're into GEMS, in the upper right corner of the screen, click on the Log into Secure Site link. It is shown on the slide of the GEMS homepage. A pop-up will appear that asks for your login and password. Enter those and proceed to the EWS pages. That concludes this lesson on student confidentiality when using the Montana Early Warning System. This slide shows the remaining lessons, including the next one in the series, Preparing the Data File.